Alright, hello everyone. This is Oni's Dojo Lesson 1. Today we are going to talk a little bit about CSing. Now for those of you that are new to League of Legends, CSing is one of the most important things you can learn because it is how we get gold. Now for this particular little practice session, I've set up 3 bots. That'll put 1 in each lane, and I set them each to the intermediate skill level. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to CS for 10 minutes. I'm going to go against these bots and I'm going to try to get as many CS as I possibly can. Now, when I play mid, I play either Lux or Morgana. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with my Morgana mid. And I'm going to take all of my normal runes. Check and make sure everything's set correctly here. And I do.
We'll bring them pain.
Now, when you're CSing, some good goals to shoot for are 30 CS by 5 minutes and 80 CS by 10 minutes. If you can do that, you're doing pretty good for a new player. A couple things about CSing. You kind of have to pay attention to which minions are getting fired upon by the other minions. You have to pay attention to whether the wave's pushing to you, whether it's pushing away from you. All these things affect how you will be able to CS. Now, some people recommend that when you do this, you do it without any runes or masteries. I don't find that to be particularly useful, mostly because I think it is most beneficial to practice in as similar a setting as you will to the game. Now, the reason I do this against bots is because I can do this for 10 minutes, reset, and really learn the way my champion works. Some of the reasons we do this is it lets you become familiar with your champion's auto attack animation, the missile speed for their auto attack, how much damage they do, things like this.
30 seconds until
When
minions
you're
spawn.
CSing, you want to try to kill the minion at the last instant possible. And the reason for that is one, it makes you less likely to push the wave, and it will also make you less likely to miss the CS, because if you attack too soon, it has like 2 hit points left. The minions will kill it and you won't get the CS. However, if you wait till the last instant possible, you increase your chances of getting that
Minions have
CS.
spawned.
Now, when you're first doing this, you can just focus on CSing and you can build all of your items towards that end. I'm at the point where I treat it just like I'm laning in game in the way that I ward and how I do things based on timers, and I'll mention that. Now, as the minions come to lane, I'm going to immediately start autoing the wave. I'm going to spread it out just to start getting myself in the flow.
They will suffer.
Now, even though I got hit by the enemy skill, I'm going to keep on trying to CS because there's no reason for me to pull back off of that. Now, in that case, I was able to use a skill to both get CS and harass down onto my lane opponent. And that's what I mean by always waiting till the last possible minute.
Without mercy.
Now, part of the problem is if your wave gets a lot bigger than your enemy's wave, the minions will start dying faster than you can CS them. So you kind of have to manage that a little bit. In about 3 minutes, the jungler might be coming in for a gank. If you're on the blue side, they usually come from the top side jungle, but either way, whichever lane you decide to ward, you're going to want to cheat to that side. And I practice this even when I'm practicing my CS, even though I know nobody's going to come and gank me. It's just a good habit to get into. One other thing you want to keep track of is experience differentials. And also keep in mind that whenever you auto-attack the enemy champion, the minions are going to take their focus off of that champion and off of your minions and start attacking you.
Feel my pain. Do not doubt. I'll have my revenge.
Now, I will admit that I'm a little bit out of practice on this because I've been playing almost all ADC. And this is why we do this from time to time, just to get back up to speed with champions we haven't played in a while. So that if you do find yourself playing them in a game, you're not completely out of your depth. Go ahead and stretch the lane up here. I'm a little behind where I'd like to be,
They will suffer.
but picking up a kill does help. Kill counts for about 15 CS, give or take. And now that I've pushed the wave into turret, I will go ahead and back and buy an item. Now, one thing, when you're CSing or playing a game, if you're going to back, you always want to try to get the wave into turret because it'll reset towards the middle of the lane. If you don't get it into turret, you run the risk that your opponent will be able to freeze the lane outside of, just outside of their turret, which can make it harder for you to CS. Now on my first back, I always try to get a pink ward. Basically as a mid laner, I try to get a pink ward every 5 minutes. Now unfortunately, even though I pushed it into tower, the wave did get to my turret, but it's going to be right in front of my turret, so I'm going to thin by putting a pool on the caster minions here.
Feel my pain.
And then I'm just going to last hit.
Share in my
So that makes Lux take some damage, and that'll give me a chance to come over here and place my pink ward in that bush, which again widens the lane for me and lets me
not dally.
play to one side. And get another kill on Lux. Now instead of shoving real hard to the tower, I'll take advantage of that opportunity to really widen my lane and get another ward.
They will suffer.
Mistimed that. And now we can start getting some damage on the tower. Now again, some of the things you'll see me doing here.
Not dally.
One good thing to practice in this is kiting. You can just practice kiting minions back when you're moving around in lane. Also, when you're moving your mouse, try to keep
I'll
your
have
mouse
my revenge.
as close to your character as you can. And use lots of little inputs versus really big inputs to improve your pathing.
I'll have my revenge.
And and that'll help cut down on minion block, and it'll let you move better in lane. So these are also good things to
Share
practice
in
when
my
you're CSing. It's
torment.
just, your mechanics of moving your champion around. That's one other reason I like Morgana. She is super easy to
Feel
CS
my
with.
without mercy.
Now, as you get better at this, you want to try to get to the point where you're not missing any CS ever. And that can be really challenging, but it is doable.
I'll have my revenge.
If you're trying to push a wave, you always want to, if you're trying to set up a push, you always want to kill the casters first,
Feel my pain.
because they will thin your wave faster than the melees will.
I'll have my revenge.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Do not dally.
Bots threw the kitchen sink at me, so I got to 75 CS at 10 minutes, which is 7.5 CS per minute, which again is not bad if you are a newer player. Obviously, if you're higher ranked, you'll probably get more than that. Now, when you're practicing CS, again, your goal is to focus on the CS that you're getting and trading with the bot. These are intermediate bots, and I generally try to set up bots that are reasonably likely to show up in lane. The intermediate bots will always be worse than most human opponents, but they will push the lane back against you and give you a little bit more realistic scenario to practice in. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this, and in the next session here, I am going to talk a bit about stances in lane. So to do that, we are going to go to the bot lane for those purposes, and we'll do some ADC practice. For this one, I am going to set up Misfortune, and we'll go with Caitlyn and Ziggs. And the reason we're going to pick Ziggs is because he is one of the hardest bots to farm against, because he's just super aggro and his skills hit pretty hard. So this time I'm going to have the same goals as I did the last time, except what we're going to do now, let's check this. I'm going to go with Bandit because I like gold. And we will work with, I'm going to go with Jinx this time.
Rules are made to be broken. Like buildings. Or people.
And this time I'm going to talk a little bit about positioning yourself in the wave and what are called trading stance and farming stance. And the reason we're going to talk about these things is because as you understand these stances and how they work with the waves, you'll be able to trade onto your opponents a little better and take less damage yourself. Also, for those of you that play in the bot lane, these are important to understand so that you can anticipate when a good time to trade is, when a good time to sit back is, and how to try to get on the same page with your lane partner. One of the most frustrating things about bot lane is you're just dumped into the lane with a person you don't, if you're not duo queued, you don't know who they are or what they're going to be doing. One other thing I do whenever I load into game, and particularly in these practice sessions, is I do these little mouse drills where I run a triangle and just try to keep her in the same spot.
30 seconds until minions
And
spawn.
that just kind of gets my hands warmed up, and it lets me practice movement.
Ah, come on. What's the worst that could happen?
One thing when you're farming is, you always want to stay moving, but try not to develop into predictable
Minions have
patterns.
spawned.
If you do, then sooner or later your enemy's going to pick up on it, even subconsciously, and you'll walk into a skill shot without even realizing it because they knew where you were going to go. Because, say, every time you CS, you run in a little circle like this, and then come back to your other one. They'll pick up on that, and it'll bite you sooner or later. Or some people will move, just up and down the lane between CS. You want to avoid those kind of patterns. All right. When the waves are balanced, in other words, when we've got a line of melee and casters, I'm going to fall back to farming stance so I can get the melee minions. And that's going to put me back by my own casters, which is a lot safer than me compared to when I move up to try to farm the casters. At this point, it's much more, this is what I would call trading stance. It's much more likely that I'm going to take some sort of attention from the ADC. So see, she ran up there, I fell back, and I got to be careful because if I auto her when her wave is larger, then I will take minion aggro, and those minions can start to hurt. Now we've got an imbalance here, so I tried to go up to get some trade and then some harass on her. Couldn't get in range. But now I'm definitely in trading stance because I've got the minion advantage. I'll switch to rockets, get an attack on her, and fall back to farming stance for the next wave of melees. One thing you'll see me doing here is I'm going in and out of the bushes quite a lot. That's called bush weaving. If you've got lane bushes handy for that sort of thing, it's really useful because it will drop the minion aggro on you if you've autoed their ADC. Obviously that doesn't work if they've got a ward in the bush, but it's still a good habit to get into. I thought I got that one. So see, the minions are following me all the way to the lane bush there because they were aggroed on me, but they were melee minions. So I wasn't as concerned about them getting me. Now she's just wandering right into the middle of my minions. Which, if she wants to do that, that's fine by me. That was bad series. I thought I had them, but didn't work out that well. One thing you want to be careful of, the wave sticks right in this area, and they start to freeze it where it's not getting into the tower. You want to break that freeze as quickly as possible so that the wave bounces and comes back out here more. Otherwise, you're very susceptible to ganks from the enemy jungler or the mid laner. And that's not a situation that you want. So right now she's got minion advantage, so I'm just going to sit back here and use my range advantage to hit her. Got her heal, but I did miss quite a bit of CS in that. Now, if you do get pushed this far and you're going to be sieging at their tower, hopefully you or your support has a ward to toss out into that bush. And one thing when you're trying to CS in a game, it's better. You don't want to take a ton of harass just to get like a cannon minion or something like that. It's better to stay safe and miss a CS and get 4 more that you wouldn't have gotten than it is to die. And miss like 2 or 3 waves of CS because you were dead. Another thing is an ADC, you want to save your wards for the lane brush as much as possible, because if your support doesn't ward well and your opponent runs into the lane brush, you can't auto them if you can't see them. So that's just something to keep in mind. Alright, when you get into these minion situations where they're all just focusing the heck out of a minion, you kind of have to race them for kills. I'm going to go ahead and go back. I am way behind on CS in this one, so I'm just going to stick around, even though anytime you have over around 1,300 gold, you really need to look for opportunities to go back. Because gold does you absolutely no good in your pocket. And 1,300 is usually more than enough for a major component to a power spike item.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Eddie, unlock the door.
Ask me if I'm listening.
They were very concerned about you leaving.
You're my favorite waste of bullets.
Your turret has been destroyed.
Alright, 6.9 CS in 10 minutes is not terrible. Could be better. But there's another practice session with a little bit more commentary about placing yourself in relationship to the minion waves. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the YouTube comments, message me on Twitch or Reddit.